Yo, welcome back to another edition of the Men Who Cry podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, review, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. If you don't do these things, I'm assuming that you put Andrew Cuomo at number one of your choice. Do not do that. On today's episode, we have a guy whose team just made, I guess, the second most notable trade of the offseason so far. Well, no, technically the first, because when Kevin Durant was traded, the finals were still happening. So the first major trade of the offseason, Lane Reardon is back. How are you doing, Lane? And please tell me how you feel about training one Anthony Simons.
I'm doing pretty solid. We'll say that. I was up in Sacramento to watch some Oakland Athletics baseball. I guess Sacramento Athletics. I guess
Jesus
just
Christ.
Athletics.
Yeah,
I
just
caught a
the
game.
A's.
I caught a game with my sister up there this weekend, and it was awesome. I will have to say that. I had a great time.
So was it awesome? Like you went to a baseball game, or because from what I looked at on TV, where they play looks like crap, but it seems like a vibe.
It's a vibe. It is a total vibe. You can sit on the like green hill in the back. The vibes are like really like family oriented feeling. Like it's like almost like being out at a park, like a public park in a really easy way. The tickets were $10. I don't know. It was just like really relaxed. It was really fun.
And they got the Rookie of the Year.
Jacob Wilson played terribly versus the guards, but is allegedly exciting in other games. I've watched exactly one athletics game all year, and it was the one that I went to.
The fact that he's leading the All-Star votes at shortstop,
it's awesome.
As for the A's,
yeah.
Ooh,
that team did have some swag. Like I got to see Lawrence Butler make an amazing diving catch in left field and then get kicked out of the game for arguing balls and strikes like 2 innings later. It was awesome.
Nice.
So I don't know. Obviously it sucks, and heartbreaking news that they've officially started breaking ground in Vegas over the weekend, which obviously makes me quite sad. I mean, they will always be the Oakland Athletics to me. Yeah, Ricky was my second favorite player growing up, so it's just one of those things. I will always
Ricky
be sad.
Henderson.
Yeah,
How?
I just loved.
I didn't see
bases.
Ricky play it. I'm older than you.
I just loved stealing bases as a kid when I played ball, and I was like, I want to be the white Ricky Henderson. That was the mindset. So never
Pete
really
Crow Armstrong
Yeah, exactly.
or
really
Shohei.
Yeah.
Well, Shohei's not white, but you know,
Yep.
same thing.
But yeah, love Ricky. Love the Oakland A's.
Okay, cool. Oakland A's. All right.
Okay, but what we were talking about, Blazers.
Yes, I want to get your thoughts first on your team.
Okay, so last night I was pretty mixed. I saw the news drop. I immediately texted my sister. She's the only other Blazers fan I have in my life, and we were pretty confounded on where this organization is going. Joe Cronin, the GM, has shown that he likes to trade for assets. He doesn't like to trade for picks. He doesn't like to trade for growth. He likes to trade for specific players under contract. He did that last year with Danny Avdia. He did that this year with Drew Holiday. He wants to be trading for specific players that he can know what they are and hopefully what they're going to be down the line. So it's a different philosophy on building a team than some other teams, and he just has his own way of looking at it, and you have to accept that when thinking about their moves. So the pro side of the argument for me is that Drew Holiday is meant to be a mentor for Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe. Scoot has a lot to do defensively. He's going to have to grow defensively. Being a 6'2 guard in the league is really hard without that much length. And with a mentor like Drew, hopefully that can develop. It's one of those things that we like to say, like, I hope this guy's defense develops, without it ever actually coming to fruition most of the time. We're like, let's just get a good guy around him and we'll figure it out. The con of it for me is that it seems like a win now move when the Blazers are just not in a win now operative way. We don't have a guy that we can point at and be like, go get us the game. You know, we don't have this a superstar or a star, or however you want to define it, as we've talked about all fucking playoff long. So it feels like a win now move for a team that is still 2 years away from wanting to win now, or, you know, just a guy away from wanting to win now. Where are you at with it? How are you feeling?
I actually really liked it. Drew Holiday is one of my favorite players in the league. I think for the Blazers, I think they looked at it like this: they had too many guards. You have Simons. You had Simons. You had Scoot. You had Shaden Sharp. Who's Denny Avia is not really a guard, but
He plays point forward now, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like that to me is too many guys, right? Like
Too
one
similar.
of those. Yeah, and again, like a lot of them are too similar. They also all need the ball in their hands, and you're paying Simons a lot of money, and it just didn't feel like, especially when you had Scoot there, one of those three guys had to go, and Simons just made the most sense to be the guy to go. I'm interested to see in them getting Drew Holiday, and the reason why I kind of like that is I think the biggest thing for me and the biggest step that I saw anytime I watched the Blazers play was their defense was really good, right? You had Tamari Kamala?
Tumani Kamara.
Tamani Kamara. There we
That's
go.
our guy.
I wasn't dyslexic when I said his name. You got Klingon, who I think was better. Ayton is there.
Literally.
But I think that this team, if you saw, I think there was a stat that said they had a top 5 defense for the back half of the back half of the season.
Yeah.
Which is to me is really impressive, especially for a team that's so young. I like it in the basis of we're trying to make the playoffs next year, or at least the play-in. And I think there's no problem with that, because if you fall short, let's say you don't make it, or hypothetically, God forbid, it goes really bad, you can always flip Drew Holiday. Everyone's going to want that guy. And after next season, he'll be on an expiring contract, right? So then you can always flip him to some team, because someone's always looking to save money, and that's the way you can recruit his value, right? So I think for the Blazers, it made total sense. I think it's a play on, we want to try and win now. Denny Avdia, was, to me, one of the best moves of the offseason. That guy's really good. And I really liked it for the Blazers side. Boston, I'm not so high on. I think that this is a very simple cost-cutting move. I think that they didn't want to pay the luxury tax as we went forward, and I'm not blaming them for that, just because of Tatum's injury. But Anthony Simons has always been a guy who I'm just very lukewarm on. I think that he is in the pool, and not to use a play on words, he's in the pool of the Jordan Pooles, Benedict Mathurin's, those types of players where if he's one of your 5 best players, I do not think your team is very good. If he is your 6th or 7th man, I think your team is really good. They can make the finals. We've seen it with Mathurin. We've seen it with Jordan Poole and other Tyler Hero, those kind of guys. And if Boston wants to win next year, which I don't necessarily know what they want to do, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, because I don't necessarily think, because I think just if you put him on Boston, you take Tatum off the team, I think, and especially now you're hearing reports that they're trying to move Porzingis, they clearly, in my opinion, want to be bad. And I think getting 2 second-round picks is nice. I don't think second-round picks are anything to sneeze at, especially now with the CBA and things like that. But I'm not necessarily so sure that like having him on the team next year is going to do much for them. And to me, like the people who are so hyped up on the Boston side, I don't see it personally. So that's just my 2 cents.
I think the Boston side's really interesting. It's interesting to hear somebody go out against it, because it has been overwhelmingly positive online.
Well, that's just Boston.
Yeah.
Anything that Boston does is looked at as good.
Yeah.
Anything.
They're like, Brad Stevens is the GOAT.
Oh,
Jeez,
please. It's always looked at as good. Now, I'm not trying to shoot a fair one at him. He's one of the best GMs in the league.
100%.
Definitely, I think, in the top 5. But these people aren't perfect. And I don't really see, like, Boston, I think, will be in the playoffs by default. The East is going to be awful. And if you're kind of taking this gap year, to me, I can see them making sense of being like, all right, like we're gonna get rid of Brown. Not really Brown. We just got rid of Drew. We're gonna get rid of Porzingis. We still have Brown and White on the team. You have to really tear it down to not make the playoffs because White, Brown, and Simons is going to be the 8th seed or the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference. The East is that bad. You gotta really pull those guys off the team. Like Simons and a bunch of dudes, that team will be bad. But Simons and those two
for like 3 years in Portland.
Exactly.
We were a 20-win team.
So to me, it's like you're half pregnant. Are you trying to win or are you not? And again, I'm not faulting them for either side. If they are like, we're going to be bad, we want a top 5 pick next in the next offseason, that's fine. Your best player is not going to play. But if you're trying to do this half dance of we want to be good, but we're still going to try to cut money, I don't see that being, because I don't necessarily think Simons is a good fit with Brown and Tatum when they come back.
Well, that's actually the interesting thing that the one thing for Boston that I am most interested in is to see if they can use this year. So Simons is on an expiring, so it's like it's not that big of a risk, If they can use this year as a sort of experiment to see how he fits into the system in Boston and how much he can buy in on Joe Mazzulla and all of that. He's going to chuck, like, I'm not kidding, guys. I think he's going to chuck like 10 threes a game. He's going to shoot the ball so much. And
well, that's his best asset, is shooting.
It's his best asset. If he can also buy in even 1/10 defensively, if he can, show that he wants to play in Boston and he can show that he can play around and in that system really well, maybe they are looking at this as like let's test it out for the year, not this next year, but the year after. If we want to re-sign him, so we have our 3 of Tatum and Brown and Simons. That's the only thing I'm kind of interested in seeing if they want to experiment. I think in general he's just a not super additive player, and I think what you said, that if he's your 6th or 7th best player, you're probably in a really good zone to win a championship. And if he's your 3rd or 4th, you're fucked. So I don't know. I'm happy he's not a Blazer anymore. I've loved having somebody who can go out and get 20 for us, but it's time to go, and I'm happy for whatever Drew's going to bring us.
Yeah, and Kenny Smith said something. This was years ago, so the point total might be different. And I think Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo had this conversation, a somewhat version of this conversation is anybody in the league, I shouldn't say anybody, but most guys in the league on a bad team can get you 20 points. It's not that hard. You're in the NBA. You're a great player, right? The issue is finding those guys that can do that and help you win games. And I've never seen Simons be able to be that guy, And again, when the Blazers were winning, he was coming off the bench because he was behind CJ and Dame. Now, when he's been the starter for, like you said, the last 2-3 seasons, they've been terrible. So, I don't know. I like him as a player, like in terms of like, okay, that's an interesting archetype. I just feel like I've seen versions of him and we've seen versions of that guy be what they are. The Jordan Pooles, the Tyler Heroes, the Matherins, like they are the kind of guys where, like you said, if they are in your top 3 best players, your team is at best the 8th seed, 7th seed. If they are your best player, you are a lock for the lottery. So we'll see. It's all up in the air. Speaking of Boston, the reason why the guy Lane is here to talk to us because he wants to sip on the tea or the crumpets or whatever they got happening in Boston with Rafael Devers, their best player, getting moved to the San Francisco Giants for a pack of mid. I don't know if Lane's old enough to know what that reference means, but anytime you get a pack of mid, that means some mid weed. And I know because weed is so legal now and it's gotten so good now that you probably never. Let me ask you this question.
Yep.
Have you ever bought? I'm trying to think. You're in California, right?
Mm-hmm.
I bet. So you're not incriminating yourself. Have you ever bought a pack of weed that just was ass?
Okay, so here's some history, and this is all alleged. Yes.
Okay.
The answer is yes. So grew up
Allegedly.
in Oregon. And I did factually grow up in Oregon and allegedly throughout high school, times stuff would come around,
Mm-hmm.
there was certainly some chaff. Yeah. There was
Okay.
certainly some mid that was around us.
Okay, got you. So you get the importance of mid
Yeah.
because it gets you through the day or
Mm.
the week. But now in the age of that we're in, we're like, I just got some from I won't shout out the company's name, but it's a really big time company. And I'm not expecting it to be mid because I paid a decent price for it, right? So why Boston is expecting that they got anything back for Rafael Devers is kind of up in the air. This very much seemed to me personally as we just need you out the building kind of trade. Like, ever since the whole fiasco of him not playing let me go back. Since them signing Alex Bregman was the start of all this. And then it kind of, peaked where they needed him to play first base. He basically just told them F off. And then a couple weeks later, he's playing for the San Francisco Giants. So, Lane, please let me know how you feel about Devers now going from Beantown to what used to be Candlestick Park, but now it's AT&T Arena Stadium, rather.
To me, the Boston Red Sox are sending a message that if you don't play their way, then you are not on the team. And that, to me, in the player empowerment era of sports, is just an interesting thing for a team to be on. It's pretty clear to me that they didn't really care what they got back. They really just wanted him to be, not on the team anymore. He is a top 10 hitter in the league right now. He is meant a lot to the city of Boston as the sort of, Dominican lefty hitter, the new Big Papi. They gave him the bag when they chose not to give it to all of these other players, most importantly, Mookie Betts. It feels so much more of a tonal message about what the Boston Red Sox want than anything else. And to me, that desire is that they need you to be a part of their system. And if you don't want to play like that, then you're gone. I think it's an incredible job by the Giants, a team that is absolutely rough and rowdy almost every season. They're always like hunting that third position in the NL West, but they were winning like 40 something games already. It's just been the NL West has been so fucking good the last 3 years, last 4 years, last decade.
Did they win it that year when they won 101 games, or did they finish? No, they won it, right? And the Dodgers finished second.
Yeah, they won it. Yeah.
And then they lost to them in the playoffs. Man, that was tough.
Yeah, absolutely devastating. My dad is a big Giants fan, so I grew up in a partial Giants household. I think they've done another great piece of business, and one thing that I really want to highlight here is that this seems to be, like I was saying, it's more of a social trade than anything else, because there's this quote through the Associated Press that Devers gave, and he said, I would say that I have put some good numbers up over in Boston. I think that I do feel that I've earned some respect. If they would have asked me at the beginning of spring training, yes, I would have played first. So he is saying it's a respect thing, and he never got that respect in Boston, or at least from the office. So he wasn't going to do it for them. He wasn't going to bend the knee. That's where I'm at with it. Where are you? Where are you sitting?
So I completely agree. Let me rephrase that. I don't completely agree with Devers. I think he is more in the right. I think both parties have blood on their hands on the Devers part. I completely understand why he didn't want to move to first base. It's a position he never played. He's also a bad defender.
Truly.
And I've seen guys have bad years at the plate because they just keep screwing up on defense. They have so many errors, it gets in their head. They start focusing on that more, and then they come in and it affects them at the plate. So I understand Devers' unwillingness to want to play first base, just because he gets paid to hit. He doesn't get paid to play defense. However, it's all hands on deck. You're trying to win games, and you got your bag. And I think the fact that he was unwilling to even try it, to me, shows that there was a clear, not selfishness, but a level of unwillingness to bend to what his team and his teammates were asking him. And at the end of the day, once you are playing games, you got to get your teammates going, because it would have made the team better if he would have played first base, as bad as the defender as he is. Now, on the Red Sox side, like I just said before, you screwed up when you signed Bregman and you didn't tell Devers beforehand that, hey, this is a possibility. I know they had a first baseman already in place, but like we said before, injuries happen all the time. You have to be ready to tell this guy, like, hey, while you're not going to be maybe our everyday first baseman, you might want to get a glove, play there a little bit. We might need you at that position, even just in off days, just to give a guy a rest, to put him in the field, because you're going to probably play Bregman most of the time at third base, because that's the position that he played. So the fact that they didn't do that, didn't tell him about that, and then come to him, when it's like, oh, the shit hit the fan, and be like, oh man, like, could you do this? And him saying no, that's on you too. So this idea that it's all Devers' fault, and now like, the Red Sox are so happy to get rid of him, because that's typically what teams do. They shit on you on the way out because it makes them look better. I thought it was just embarrassing by the Red Sox all around to try and like blame it all on him when they also have stuff on their hands as well. I think overall, this comes down to a fundamental question of the Red Sox are, what exactly do you want to be, right? The Red Sox, for most of my life, were ass until they beat that Yankees team, and then it was we on and popping, and they've won 3 World Series since 2003, and the Yankees have won 1. And they have shown throughout the time that, while it's been different, front offices and obviously different ownership groups now, they've been able to win and win at a pretty consistent pace. But to me, this comes across as just being cheap, because like we just talked about, they didn't want to pay Mookie Betts. They didn't want to pay Bogarts. You can argue the Bogarts deal was a smart move. And like we said before, they basically had to get bullied into paying Devers. Like, I remember the fan base being on their heads about not letting this guy walk. And to their credit, they were able to give him a contract extension. But now you're kind of doing what the Athletics have to do. And basically it's like, we have a bunch of guys on, kind of rookie deals, to better or less. But then you're trading prospects to get Garrett Crochet. So it's like you're kind of like doing the two-step dance here. So I'm not necessarily sure if this is going to make Boston better in the long run, as opposed to saying we are just getting this guy out the building. And then it comes down to the trade deadline. If they're still kind of around 500, because last time I checked, they're still 3rd in the division.
I'm
lying. I think they're 4th. Yeah. They're 4th in the division. Is Bregman going to be on the team? Why are you keeping him? Is Crochet on the team? Why are you keeping him? So, like, you basically had a team where I don't know if you agree with me, I had them winning the division.
We did. Yeah, we talked about it right before the season. We were both so high on them.
Exactly. And now that they've already traded away their best player, they might trade away their next 2 best players. I don't really see why they're operating like they don't make any money from the team.
It's just, I feel like every time I get on this pod, I'm always just like, fuck the ownership of whatever team I'm talking about. But it is always fuck the ownership, man. It's always like they want to pretend they're not making any money when they're making so much money. I think one of the things that's confusing for me is that this division, especially with the Yankees skid, feels open. Like, it feels like the
Rays are only 2 games back.
Literally. And a Jays team that should not have any sniff of the playoffs, really, I think that Jays team is such a mess, is like, could, maybe sneak in. It's just, the division is open. It's still somehow probably the best division in the East, even with it feeling open as hell. In the AL. And they seem to be in a sort of selling mindset when it feels like it should be the other way around, especially
In
getting
June, mind you.
literally. It's like Bregman is having, he got injured, but he's having an incredible season. You're getting that out of like an older guy. You don't really know where he's going to go from here. It seems like you got to buy in on that sort of thing. But they're not. And it leaves an odd feeling of kind of, so what now? Where do we go from here? If you had to give a guess, do the Red Sox go sell mode the rest of the season, or do we just see them sit where they are and end up a 500 ball club?
I will answer your question because I just want to double check the standings. Okay, so as we are recording this podcast, the Red Sox are dead even at 500. They're 40-40. They are 6 games back of the Yankees for the division. They, as of right now, would not have a wild card spot. That would get the last wild card spot right now is owned by the Seattle Mariners at 40-37. The Mariners have 3 games basically in hand. They have 3 games that they haven't played. I'm going to say that they are going to sell just because, as crap as the American League is, as we talked about a bunch of times, I don't necessarily think that they're going to have the offense to stay with some of these teams, because I don't think they're catching the Rays, because the Rays always find a way to be able to make things tough. I don't think they're winning the division, obviously. The Blue Jays are interesting to me. Like, how much is this real? How much is this kind of fool's gold? But, we'll see about that. But you have teams like the Guardians that are ahead of them. The Mariners I already talked about. We'll talk more about them a little bit later. So I personally think that they're going to do the null of spades. You play spades, and then they were going to go all the way back. And I think that for fans is going to be one of the most frustrating seasons of all time. They basically got negged for the first, 60 games of the year, because they had that really rough patch. And then the funniest thing too is that they just swept the Yankees.
Yeah.
And then made the trade. Like, your arch rival, the team you hate the most, the guy who kills the Yankees all the time, especially kills their best pitcher all the time, and you send him west. So I think that they are going to do a complete pivot, and I think they're going to be bad the rest of the season. I think they will not make the playoffs now.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think their season's pretty much over. Yeah. I don't really foresee a way that they bounce back. One of the underrated things with Devers is that he's been unbelievably good at the plate. Obviously, he's good at the plate. He's got such a good eye on him this year. He was leading the AL in walks. I don't think he's going to lead the NL in walks, but
That's Soto's territory.
Yeah, exactly. That guy's got 80 walks already.
Oh boy, does he! I think they just showed a stat on MLB where it was. I think he has the 5th highest walk rate of all time.
Yeah, his eye this year is just ridiculous. I mean, he's always been good, but it feels like he went up a whole nother level. I don't know. Devers without Devers' plate discipline and bat and eye, they've got nothing, I think, to keep them moving. Their infield's batting is actually pretty atrocious. Tristan Casas, Christian Campbell, and Trevor Story, I feel like, are all not having great seasons. I mean, Trevor Story's having an okay season, but Casas and Campbell both have been downright horrendous on the plate. So I think it's a wrap. I think we can pack in the Red Sox maybe pushing for a division title, as we predicted earlier in the preseason, as being fool's gold. I love Crochet, so maybe we could get a little Cubs action with Crochet. We get a little bit nasty.
Send him back to Chicago.
Yeah. But who knows? It's a long season, so we'll see.
Yes. Okay. So, quick question: which New York team that's falling apart do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about the Mets, or you want to talk about the Yankees?
I think the Mets are more interesting, Because the Yankees. So let's do a quick Yankees because I think we could dive deeper into the Mets.
Yes, I also don't think the Yankees. While I don't think they necessarily have less problem than the Mets, I think that as we just spoke about, their pathway to make the playoffs is just so much easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So give us your Yankees feelings. Where are you at?
My Yankees feelings are no different than they were at the start of the season. I think they have Judge and then a bunch of dudes. And I've felt this way since the start of the year. Their pitching has been a little hit or miss. Obviously, they're missing their best pitcher right now. Though Luis Gil, I believe, is supposed to be coming back.
Max Fried has also been unbelievably nasty.
But that's the point. Max Fried has been right there in the Cy Young conversation all year. So I don't necessarily think it's always their pitching. Their bullpen has been a little spotty. I would say that's probably been the weakest part of their team. But like most times when teams struggle, it's always going to be one or the other. Either you're not hitting when you need to hit, and you're not pitching when you need to pitch. So I think overall that the Yankees will be fine. Just because, like we said before, their overall division is bad. While the Rays are making their annual kind of run for them, it is not anything that I think is anything to be like super concerned about, right? Because if you look at the Yankees' last couple, we just talked about them being swept by the Red Sox. They then lost. Then they got swept by the Angels. Well, I'm sorry. They lost 3 or 4 against the Angels. They then proceeded to win the series because it's the only series that they can win because the Orioles are bad. So they went 2-1 against the Orioles, but then they just lost on the road against the Reds. They have 2 more games against the Reds. They have 3 with the Athletics, and then they have the Blue Jays, which is probably going to be a pretty important series because the Blue Jays are really going to want to win that series if they're going to have any chance of the division. I just feel that June baseball really gets to the part of like the dog days, right? Because we're getting kind of close to the All-Star break, and this is the time where you got to really kind of lock in to get to the break. But I don't necessarily think their problems are crippling, if that makes sense. But what about you? How do you feel about them?
How I feel about them is similar. They have the ultimate team floor raiser in the MLB right now with Judge. It's been that way for Loki Judge's whole career, which is so funny.
Well, except for last year. But that was the only
last season with Soto. Where it's him and some dudes. Which is so funny to me because it's like, guys, come on. It's not that they're even not trying, because I think like they Jazz Chisholm was meant to be one of those guys, and Volpe was supposed to develop, and Jason Dominguez, and all these people that we'd been hearing about, because Yankees baseball, like we do here, we talk about Yankees baseball and we talk about their prospects. Okay, whatever. Aaron Judge is going to make your team better than it should be, just as a flat out. He leads the AL in batting average, in OBP, in slugging, in OPS, in OPS plus. He leads in hits, he leads in runs, he leads in WAR. Basically, if you want to use Homer stats or advanced stats, it's all Judge. Everyone else on that offensive team is like you know, kind of a shrug at worst and best. Nobody's terrible. Nobody's great. They've had some bad
Trent
luck.
Grisham was killing it for a while.
That's
then
true.
He went
Trent,
back to realizing he's Trent Grisham.
Yeah, but Trent can ball. So and that's the way of baseball. So you have the streakiness, and I think this current stretch is just the woes of a long season. They're gonna dip out. They're gonna dip back in. The only constant is Judge is gonna play well. To me, that is not a World Series winning team, but that's a playoff team. So I think the Yankees will have another unsatisfying season, win 90 games, and lose in the playoffs.
But here's the thing, though. I can't believe I'm even giving them more credit. Who's beating them in the playoffs? Because I've seen this movie before on a American League Central team that has home field advantage that has to play the Yankees. So
The Central.
the time when an AL Central team beats the Yankees in a big spot, hit me up. All right? Because I've never seen it. I've never seen it. Okay? So that to me, and this is why I don't freak out as much about the Yankees, is just because I frankly do not believe in the competition of the American League. Yes, the Detroit Tigers are killing it right now, right? Javi Baez, I believe, is one of the leading vote getters for the All-Star game.
Just like we always knew he would be.
Just like we always knew. The guy who had the worst contract in baseball is now going to make the All-Star team.
Yep.
It's insane. And another ex-New York player, Gleyber Torres, might make the team as well.
Incredible stuff that Gleyber is balling out as much as
exactly. Shout out to Gleyber, man. Sometimes you just need to get out those pinstripes to be able to play.
You can be free.
Yes. But unless it's the Astros, and that's the team that I would be the most worried about if I was the Yankees, just because, you know, it's still a lot. I know a lot of those guys aren't there anymore, like Bregman and what's my guy who went to the Twins?
Correa,
yeah, Carlos Correa. He's not there anymore. Like, they still can pitch. Hunter Brown is the only reason I didn't say Max Fried is the Cy Young winners, because Hunter Brown's having a killer season. But they, to me, are the only team that I would really be worried about if I'm the Yankees. And like we just said before, their division, while it's going to look a little bit more tough, I still don't believe fully in the Rays or the Blue Jays. And we just already talked about how the Orioles and the Red Sox might be, you know, sellers at the deadline. So while I would love to buy into your Yankee pessimism, I just don't believe fully in all those teams unless they end up playing Houston, in which that I think to me is a little bit more of a serious contest between those two.
It's smart to not trust the Central. It's
Central.
It's maybe the safest bet in baseball. Okay, so transitioning over to the Mets, over to the NL. As our resident Met fan, how are you feeling? Are you okay? What's going on? Where are you at?
What's going on? So I'm of two minds. One of my minds is it's June. And as bad as a team can play for 11 games, they're one game back of the division, either 1 or 1.5. I don't remember the Phillies played.
1.5 right now.
1.5 games back. So the Phillies did not play yesterday. And I feel as if it's a long season. They're going to get some pitching back and it'll be fine. I am almost at the point of I don't think these guys can make the World Series. And the reason why is because there's two things that are happening simultaneously that's really disturbing. Their best hitters are hitting. Lindor is hitting. Soto is having a great June. I mean, the fact that he's not, I think as of right now, he wouldn't make the All-Star team, but he's got like 8 home runs in the month. His OPS is over 1,000. Like, he's having a killer month, right? And it's always funny when people are like, oh, my God, Juan Soto sucks. Yeah, go look at them slash lines, boys, and tell me that boy sucks. Nimmo start to hit. Alonso was having an incredible start to the season. He's cooled off considerably since then. But your top 4 hitters are doing what it's doing. The young players have just been all over the place. They just sent down Alvarez, who's supposed to be their best catcher and their starting catcher. He's got sent down. This is now his second stint being out of the MLB. He didn't start off the season because he broke his thumb or tore ligaments in his thumb or something like that. Mauricio, he just came up. All right, this has been multiple times he's been up. I don't really know if he's here. Brett Beatty is Brett Beatty. Their best young player of those guys, Mark Vientos, who had an awesome season last year, didn't start off the year that well and got hurt. And now he's coming back. I think either today. I think he's supposed to play this week. I don't necessarily know if he's going to play tonight or not. And so, but that's a large part of your team because Tyrone Taylor's not a guy he's a 9-hitter. Surrey, shockingly, is hurt because he's always hurt. And so I said Shuri, and my Siri just popped on and was like, "Oh yeah, I agree."
Time to chat.
Exactly. It's time to really start chatting. So that to me is a concern in the sense that the depth of the lineup is a problem. But I honestly just think overall with like McNeil, Vientos coming back, Alvarez I think will come back and hit. I'm not that concerned, especially when I just talked about those first 4 guys. The pitching is falling off a fucking cliff, right? Like Blackburn, not good. Senga got hurt again, and he finally looked like he was going to have a Cy Young season, a complete Cy Young season, but just got hurt again. Frankie Montas is supposed to start, and do not look at his minor league numbers; they are terrible. Terrible.
Oh no.
And Sean Manaea, who was our best pitcher last year, is supposed to come back, I believe, if not this week, early next week. But the pitching has just not been good. And that to me is the biggest concern, is because the one thing about David Stearns, who's the president of basketball organizations for the Mets, is he does not pay pitching. Right? I think there's a lot of people who want the Mets to go out and get Jacob deGrom, Garrett Crochet, we just talked about. He's never been the guy. If you look at his time in Milwaukee and his time here, he's never really been a guy who's going to go out and spend big money or assets on pitchers. And I frankly agree with that. They get hurt a lot, and they're only going to make, what's the healthiest pitcher going to make? 28 starts, 27 starts. You play 162 games, right? And fundamentally, I always felt like the Mets, the way that they were going to do their pitching is by committee. That's how they got to the NLCS last year, right? They were able to use Luis Severino. They were able to get what they got out of Sean Manaea, who had a great season. And look at the Dodgers. I don't think any of their guys were these elite guys. Like Walker Buehler was hurt most of the year. Like Kershaw hasn't been good, right? Well, let me not say that. He's been okay, but he's not the guy that he was back in his
38,
heyday.
right?
Yeah, he's an old man. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not trying to pick on him. But you saw that Dodgers team piece it together and got to the World Series. So while I am not concerned in the moment of like they're not going to make the playoffs, I'm not that concerned. I am very concerned about them in the postseason because you got to face dogs, right? You got to face the Padres, the Dodgers, the Braves might make it in, the Phillies, like the Cubs. Like those are real teams. Any one of those teams I just mentioned, I would not be shocked if they made the World Series. None of them. I think all those teams are really, really good. So you got to be on your shit if you want to make it out of this NL, because the NL is tough. So while I am at a 4 on a panic scale from 1 to 10, 10 being like, hit the red button, kind of blow it up thing, I'm a 4 in terms of like the regular season. Like, oh, they're going to miss the playoffs. I'm not that crazy. But this team's got to get to the World Series or at least get to the NLCS. And that, to me, is a very big question mark. I know I went long, so
no,
I'll listen
good.
to your point.
Do you feel that like it is CS or bust? Like, is that what the energy is with the fan base? Yeah. I don't think now listen, I don't think they'll fire the manager if they don't make the NLCS, right? But there's a lot of pressure. Your 2 best players, or I guess depending on how you want to look at it, are making it a combined $1 billion. And it's a real thing, right? For their life of their contract in Lindor and Soto. You have Pete Alonso, who's having a great season, but this is also his walk year. So you don't know if he's coming back. And that whole process took so long to see if he was even going to come back, right? So there's still a good chance that he can walk. You have the team right now that's ready to go. And as someone who is like a super, like, you got to be patient, you got like all these things like happen like that. I'm sorry. You paying a dude damn near $1 billion or a contract that could get to $1 billion, and you just made the NLCS a year prior. I'm sorry. You got to get back there again.
And I'm not a big guy on winning the division. I think winning the divisions are a little bit overrated at this point. But you had better make the playoffs, and you had better get to the NLCS, or I can see them firing the manager. And I really like Carlos Mendoza, but like as we've seen in multiple sports, the first guy that gets the blame is going to be the manager or the coach. So if they don't get to the NLCS, I can absolutely see them, making some changes and having a very interesting offseason.
That's interesting because I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't thought about the pressure that we were getting to with the Mets, because I think for me it's always been, I haven't seen the Mets in this way. That's been this, the as one of the teams that feels like it's a championship or bust team, and if it's not that, CS or bust. That division is such a dogfight, as it always is, with this Phillies team that we feel like we've seen them run it back for 5 times. The same group, the same stories, all of that, and the Braves.
Not even to cut you off, the same parallels happened. They had Joe Torre, right? Yeah. And they were underachieving. And then what do? They fired their manager, made the World Series.
Yep.
Like these things, these guys come and go real fast. And I know Mendoza just got the job last year, but this is New York, man. Like, they will get your ass up out of here if they think they need to.
Yeah, bye, Tom Thibodeau. Goddamn. See ya.
Have best season in 25 years. Pack your shit up right now.
Get out. The U-Haul is outside.
Outside, bro.
Fuck. Okay, so for me, I actually feel pretty confident about this Mets team. I think that they're in a state of traditional baseball regression where Vientos and Alvarez are having downs, and they will inevitably bounce back, especially Vientos. I thought he showed enough to have trust as a 25-year-old player, one of the youngest people on the roster, at least from the hitting perspective. If you want a player to be bad, you want him to be bad in June. You don't want him to be bad in October. So I trust that Vientos will find his way. Offensively, I'm really not worried about this Mets team. I think they're going to be good. I think they are a playoff offense. They know their way around October now. They had this incredible run. From a pitching perspective, I'm incredibly worried about this as a starting 5 for a playoff level contender. I think it's really interesting looking at their division rival Phillies, who feel like they have this group of hitters that are like a lot of big names that are actually kind of like playing fine, okay, and it's their pitchers that are, if the Phillies go to the World Series, it's because they're going to take every team to 7 games, and it's because of their pitching. The Mets, on the other hand, I don't trust literally like any of these guys this season. And that's not, I'm not in every game, I'm not watching every Mets game, but I am watching. I like the Mets, I like watching the Mets. So it's one of those teams that it's like, if the game is on and I'm not doing anything, it's going on.
Paul Blackburn needs to not pitch
ever again.
Yeah, like I'm good on that. I'm good on that. And funny enough, not even again, he didn't pitch bad.
Totally.
He gave up 3 runs.
Yep.
Like he didn't go long, but he gave up 3 runs.
It's interesting because like if I just pulled up their baseball reference, and it's like they don't seem on paper that this bullpen or even the starting 5 is that bad at all, but it's a vibes thing. When I'm watching it, I don't trust it, and sometimes that's enough in baseball, and maybe that's enough in all sports, but vibes are so important, and you can kind of pick it up from the TV. You can definitely pick it up in person when it isn't going the right way. It's interesting because they're, what are they, 46 and 33. Last week they were 45 and 25, I think.
Yeah, they're 20 games. They were 20 games over 500.
So that's a big jump, but I expect it to even out. I don't know. I'm confident in this team. I find the division race, I hope they don't put a lot of effort into winning the division, and they're more mindful of just making the playoffs.
Make the playoffs. That's all that matters.
It's what killed them, what was that, 3 seasons ago when there was that insane race, and then the Phillies ended up making the World Series?
Yeah.
And it was that absolute fucking September dogfight.
Well, to your point, right? Like, if you look at last year, right? They got off to such a horrible start. I think that everyone kind of wrote them off, right? I mean, we were talking about trading Alonso, just everyone under the sun was thinking about getting moved, and then the grimace happened. And I always feel like baseball's the one sport I think you need a stupid thing to believe in. You know? Yeah. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because it's such a long season that, like, you can get distracted easily or whatever. The games themselves don't matter as much. But you just need something dumb to get it going, right? And like you said, the vibes got to start picking back up. And like you said, I'm not worried about them making the playoffs at all. I'm really not. It would have to take, like, you would have to collapse. The fear is where you get pecked, because we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but I can absolutely see a team winning 91, 92 games not making the playoffs. Kind of like last year, the Diamondbacks, I think, won 88 games and then they make the playoffs. And it was kind of the inverse, because I remember last year when the Mets, when going into the season, one of my friends was a really big Mets fan as well. He had them winning 90 games. I had them winning 87, I think, or something like that, maybe 86. But I had them making the playoffs because I was like, it's the third wild card. You only got to win about 85 some odd games to get in. Now that's completely different. So I think that there's just enough, and especially with the evening, like if this was the old baseball rules where you basically just play the NL and play the AL sometimes, I would have legitimate concerns about them making the playoffs. But because you play the AL like enough, the schedules are balanced enough. There's so many, like, you get to play the White Sox, they already played the Athletics. But I will say this, the easy part of their schedule is done. They played a lot of bad teams in the beginning. And now they're starting to play. I didn't think Atlanta was going to fold because I've seen their devil magic for 20 years. That team will always be around. The Mets have not been the Braves all year.
That's crazy.
And they're still under 500, the Braves. They haven't beaten them once.
How many games have they played?
It's only been 4 games.
Okay, but still.
They still haven't beaten them all year, which is irritating, to say the least. But like you said, it's June, so I'm not. Okay, we're back. Had a nice little glitch in the Matrix for a sec. But me and Lane were talking about Cal Raleigh, which is I'm glad I could say his name right now, that I just cut out mispronouncing it before. This guy's having one of, if not the best seasons, offensive seasons at least, from a catcher. As I was looking on Perplexity before, he currently is batting .278 with 32 home runs. 32 home runs, leads the NL, or the AL rather. RBI 68. He leads MLB with that. And he has an OPS of 1.048. And before I jumped away into the Matrix, Lane was trying to see, is this going to be the greatest season for a catcher if he can continue it, right? My feeling is I think he will be able to continue this for the rest of the season. I don't know if this will be his career, or we have seen guys have these like 1-year renaissance and kind of come back to earth. My question to Lane is this, because he watches the Mariners a little bit more than I do. If he's going to continue, let's say this is the kind of player that he is. He's still a very young guy, so this might not be something for next season or even the season after that. But at some point, do you think this guy has to transition to being a first baseman? Because he's going to take a lot of, foul balls. He's going to hit with a lot of wild pitches. He's got to move a lot. It's tough to be down in that stance for so long. Do you think that the Mariners will make the conscious decision at some point to move him to first base?
I think it's a strong likelihood that happens. Or to a DH. So they just DFA'd Rowdy Tellez, I believe, of like a couple minutes, or not minutes, a couple of days ago. And so I would expect that there's at least some talk in the organization that they have to find, a first baseman, and maybe Cal Raleigh's that guy that they're going to hopefully transition one day to there. But the thing with it also is that he plays a good catcher. He was a Gold Glove in 2024, I think. And it would be a loss to open that, to lose that. He also is a really good. He's talked a lot about and the Mariners organization has talked a lot about his connection to the pitching staff and how much the pitchers love him. And that sort of intangible connection is one of those that you don't see in the day to day, but you see it in the wins and loss columns. That's this is the type of thing that affects a season, is having a catcher that your pitchers trust. The interesting thing with this is that there's always been talk about Harry Ford, which is this minor league prospect that the Mariners have, who's allegedly supposed to be quite good at catcher. Has yet really to put it together. But it's the thing where it's if Harry could connect on playing good major league ball, then yeah, they would move Raleigh to first base. I hope that is what ends up happening for him. I hope that he gets to have a long career and that he isn't limited by the destroying, back-breaking, knee-breaking job that being a catcher is his whole time, and that we lose out on some Cal Raleigh years at the plate because his body can't hold up. He's also a big guy. He weighs a lot, and that can really hurt your knees when you're bending like that for 182 games this season.
Yeah, especially those hours that you're playing, got to be back there. So, yeah, he's definitely, to me, the biggest surprise of the season. Well, I'll take that back. He's not the biggest surprise for me of this season. The biggest surprise for me is not just the Detroit Tigers. When did Javi Baez get good again?
Overnight,
I know we talked
randomly.
about him. I know we talked about him early in the podcast. Your guy and my guy, Javi Baez. Have we seen? I don't remember seeing this from a hitter, where he was done, done, and then now, look, his list. He's not gonna get MVP votes, but he's gonna make the All-Star team. How do you look at as Mr. Baez's return to the main stage of being a good hitter?
It's one of the most beautiful parts of baseball is that you can bat 180 one year and then next year bat 290. I mean, you actually normally can't. You normally can't be that different. This is the player who we saw for a good chunk of his time in Chicago. This is the World Series winning Javi Baez. Maybe a better version, honestly. I mean, that 2016 season, he wasn't hitting really quite as good as he is right now. So that is one of those incredible sequences of baseball that you just can never predict. It was never on my bingo card that Javi Baez was going to be this good again. I think the interesting part for him is that he has completely let go of trying to be a power hitter, and he hits almost always for contact now. And he was never a power hitter, but you could, those early years on the Cubs, he would swing through the ball, and it definitely impacted his strikeout rate. Peaking in 2018, I think he struck out 160 times that year. So, yeah, I like this transition for him, where he sees himself as more of a piece of a team rather than the guy. And maybe it took getting to such a low point last year. He was absolutely garbage last year. So maybe that's it.
Yeah. It was.
It's like the deconstruction of self. He can rebuild himself in a new image.
Exactly, bro. It's it was bad.
So bad.
I thought he made too much money to get DFA'd, but it was getting close to that.
100%. His contract was, as you mentioned earlier, it was looking like the worst contract in baseball.
Yeah. But all right, Lane, I appreciate this. Do you want to touch on the NL topic of 90 wins missing the playoffs, or?
Yeah, let's hit it quick.
All right.
Let's hit it really fast. So you think that there's going to be a 90-win NL team that misses the playoffs. Let's hear the argument for. I disagree. So I've got my rebuttal locked and loaded.
I'm just gonna give you all the teams right now that have over 40 wins, right? If you have 40 wins, you're at least 500. If you have more than 40 wins, you are over 500. The Phillies, the Mets, the Cubs, the Brewers, the Cardinals, the Reds, the Dodgers, the Giants, the Padres, the Diamondbacks. So I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams in the NL that are over 40 wins. And the next closest is the Braves, but they're at 36 wins. I think that there is a strong possibility that there will be a team that that will get 90 wins or be around 90 wins and miss the playoffs. My point of that, and the reason why I feel that way is, like we talked about before, the NL is really good. And there's a bunch of teams that are going to be trying to get in because, as we know in baseball, just getting in is half the battle. There's 7 spots, or rather, there's 6 spots to get in, 3 division winners, 3 wild cards.
I think it's 7.
7 or 3? No, there's 6, right? Because you have the 3 division winners. No, you're right. It's 7. It's 7. I'm sorry.
7. They made it 7, I think, 2 years ago? What was that?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So even more my point. There's 7 spots to get in. It's like you can't convince me that one of these teams are getting in. And also the second reason why is that there's always sellers, right? Like the Pirates are selling. The Rockies sold from opening day. The Marlins are going to be sellers. The Nationals are going to be I don't really have anything to sell, but like those teams are going to be sellers, and it's going to be interesting to see which team picks up where. But yeah, I absolutely think that we can see a 90-win team miss the postseason in the National League.
Is it a possibility? Yes, it's certainly a possibility. Here's my reason why I think it won't happen. It's that the concentration of good teams is mostly centralized around currently the Central and the West. We have the Giants, the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Diamondbacks. That's 4 teams. That's a lot of teams that are going to be playing each other in this end of the season. And then for the Central, we've got the Cubs, the Brewers, the Cardinals, and the Reds. That's also 4 teams. That's going to be playing a lot of games against each other. A lot of in division games. And those games, you that's always a winner and a loser with that, obviously. And so that keeps it even. It evens it out. So I don't think we're going to reach 90 because so much of the concentration of these 40-win teams is already located in 2 divisions that have a lot of division games left to play. It's kind of like a silly little like workaround answer. I think that the hidden truth of your question is that how the fuck is the NL so damn good?
Well, here's my other point. My rebuttal to you would have been like, while that is true, 1, we play less division games now than we did back in the day. We play, I think, 12 now versus the 19 that we play. Yep. And also, you get to play a lot more of the Guardians, the Royals, the Twins, the White Sox, the Angels, the Rangers, the Athletics, the Orioles, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays. Those teams stink. Totally. Well, Blue Jays I'll take out of that mix of stinking. The rest of those teams are terrible. So while, yes, there will always be the infighting, right?
Yeah.
And there will just be a national set of teams that will go by the weight side. I only need 1 team to miss it and to get 90 wins. Totally. I'm not I'm not saying that the Reds are going to finish 4th in the division and miss it and miss the playoffs, but that could happen. Like I can see, the Padres are really right there, but they have a little bit of a skid and they don't get in, especially if the Diamondbacks decide to pull back. And like you said, like in their division, they get to play the Rockies, man.
That's true.
Stinks.
Yep. That's pretty nice.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, why is it that the NL? I feel like it's the same question. This is like a workaround of why is the NBA Western Conference so much better than the Eastern Conference? And my answer is GMs. Like I don't know. I've never really been able to figure that out. Some people, I think in the NBA, there's a little bit more of a through line where they can say is that the West, the teams that are in the West that the bad teams in the West are really bad. So when you're really bad, you'll get higher draft picks. You'll be able to get maybe higher talent, and then you're able to rebound better. Versus if you're in the Eastern Conference, you might win 35 to 40 games. You might make the playoffs, but you're going to pick 15th.
Yeah.
But your team isn't that good. You know, like you're not representative of being like the 15th or the 16th best team in the league. You more or less did that because you played most of your games against the Eastern Conference isn't that good. That's my only maybe comparison to it, but I don't actually have a good reason why it's like that.
It feels just like maybe one of those things of like, I guess they're, it's kind of like it's a GM shrug. It's like, I guess maybe the GMs, but also maybe just luck. Because it's like the Mavericks, that was luck that they're going to get Cooper. That could have been the Wizards. That could have been anyone in the East. So
yeah, but now they have CJ McCollum.
Thank God. Their season is saved.
Their season is officially saved. 41 wins for those.
Really excited for that
Wizards.
Bub Carrington and CJ McCollum two-man game.
They are so far away.
Yeah.
Like, how are they going to score? No more Jordan Poole.
Literally. Yeah. I mean, maybe Bilal and Alexander Sutton.
I actually really like Bilal, but
me too. I'm hating on this Wizards team that's actually kind of fun. But
yeah.
But
no, that's Lane Reardon. I appreciate him coming through. Pushing through all my gaffes of me being stuck in the Matrix for 20 minutes. But yeah. And like I said, if you guys like this pod, make sure you like, subscribe, review, tell a friend. Lane, is there anything you want to push and let people know where you're at?
Yeah. First, it's just my Substack, Lane Reardon, just my name. I write about sports. I write about life. I write about media, all kinds of things that I'm interested in. I have a weekly newsletter. Find me there. Thank you for having me on. As always, it's the best.
All right. And like we try to do all the time, try to get you guys more knowledgeable and knowing about everything in sports. So thank you guys again for listening to the Men Who Cry podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.